So, I saw this article and I thought, how silly. Failure is now big business for the highly successful. So, okay. It's an interesting, I mean, it's the sort of headline you'd read and go, what? How interesting. It's not. In best-selling books, TED Talks and podcasts, the famous love to tell us how they failed, and it seems we love to listen. So you can maybe see where this is going. So we have, right. Here's a lady that they're going to shit on. There is no better time to be a failure, or to put it another way, now would seem like a good moment to turn failure into success. The relentless focus on exams at school means most of us are reared to view failure as undesirable, a consequence of not knuckling down and doing your homework. But in the adult world, failure is increasingly fetishized and monetized. Setbacks, both major and minor, are evidence of our struggle. We are all better for having messed up. Now, before we proceed reading on, let's bear a few things in mind. This is a Guardian article. What do most Guardian writers share in common? Player hating. They're player haters. I reject all these terms like far leftists, progressives, postmodernists, whatever you like to call them. They're player haters. Let's just label them what they are. They're player haters. They're losers. They have loser mentality. And they're player haters. It's plain and simple, from Owen Jones to George Monbiot. And these people aren't exactly failures in life, but they just can't understand why other people get so much more for doing things that they don't like. It's because the world is a rich tapestry of different tastes. But they don't understand that. They hate that. So this is what this is attempting to do, is sell you this narrative, is that failing, is that everyone fails, and only the system is rigged. Everything's rigged. And only the truly privileged can afford to fail. Which is a very, very dangerous and horrible way to think. And a very damaging message to spread. It's very bad. This is bad. I hope you realise how bad this is. This is awful. This is awful. Because you say, at school you're supposed to succeed. Succeed in exams, and failure is blah 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 blah. What happened to the whole thing is, you have to fail. You have to make mistakes in order to become better. That's kind of how all life works. Do you know what I mean? When you start walking as a toddler, right, you're going to fall over before you get walking right. It's not like you have to start walking at the first attempt, otherwise you fail, because you only have one shot at it. And failure is not an option, because you're not privileged. Because there's no, what is this? This, at least, is the message in the mountain of literature on the topic, which ranges from the advisory to the autobiographical. Self-help books such as The Value of Failure, In Praise of Failure, and How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big tell us that failure is character building, a vital learning tool, and that success comes from hard-won lessons. Yes, it does. It does. Look at all the great stories of people's success. Like the Beatles never won a battle of the bands. Do you know what I'm saying? People passed up on the Spice Girls. Do you understand? Do you understand this? Anyway, right. Motivational TED Talks and podcasts are full of this stuff. Many of them confessionals by life coaches or entrepreneurs spewing platitudes about personal journeys, empowerment and positive thinking. See, they're now honestly, they're having a go at positive thinking. They don't like positive thinking. This is where this is going. Famous types also love talking about their failures. In her TED Talk, the US novelist Elizabeth Gilbert, she of the best-selling Eat, Pray, Love, reminisces on her struggle as an unpublished author working as a waitress in a diner. In Elizabeth Day's paradoxically successful podcast, How to Fail, Lily Allen, Fern Cotton and Phoebe Waller-Bridge are among those reflecting on their setbacks. Sharing one's low moments is all very laudable, though such stories are invariably told in the past tense. Well, yes, because they've now made it, haven't they? They've made it. So they're talking about failure before you make it. I don't know if you understand like how it works, but hearing about very successful people's massive failures kind of makes you feel better and makes you want to carry on, because you're like going, really? That happened to you? It's like, yeah. Really? Yeah. I mean, when they told Lionel Messi that he was too short to be a successful footballer. Stuff like that, and you're like going, really? It's called motivation. Inspiration. You ever heard of these fucking terms? They're very good. Because while some struggles may be ongoing, the popular narrative requires the protagonist to have triumphed. Well, I would say Lily Allen, Fern Cotton and Phoebe Waller-Bridge have all triumphed, haven't they? Because we know who they are. Therefore, they have triumphed. Right? There may be other failures, but the ultimate triumph is that they cemented in the public consciousness who they are. And however genuine the tale, it's hard to be a wealthy celebrity discussing defeat without sounding like a bit of an asshole. I think you're totally missing the point. They're talking about setbacks before they became wealthy. They're talking about their journey and saying, you want to go on this journey and succeed? Well, guess what? There's going to be a lot of fucking downs, but the ups will be worth it. That's what it's saying. But you're like, no, what is it? Very easy to talk about your failures. Now you're successful. It's like, what do you want? Say, I never had any failures. Everything was fucking fine. Public failure can be chastening, humiliating even. It can also reveal a lot about those who have failed. When J.B. Oliver's business went down the tube, shame and regret seemed to leak from his every pore. Though whether this can be deemed as a good failure when so many lost their jobs is something else entirely. Now, there's no such thing as good failure. It's just called life lessons. This person's really missing the point of everything, isn't it? You know, these books, How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big, in praise of failure, it's saying, don't worry about, like it's well known that majority of people who become entrepreneurs, who start businesses, your first business will fail. Like high percentage-wise, your first business will fail. A hell of a lot of billionaires have become bankrupt because you're on your second run when you become even richer, because you learn. But you're like, no, that's a failure. Failure's failure. There is, of course, value in talking honestly about failure. The appearance of perfection is helpful to no one, while the removal of shame around life's more calamitous moments can only be a good thing. But failure means different things to different people. Here we go! And our understanding of it is tethered to our definition of success. I think I've done all right professionally until I look at some of my university pals who earn 3 times as much as I do. Yeah, well, that's your choice. You write for The Guardian. It's a newspaper that begs for money. Prompting me to wonder about my choices. Well, you got that one fucking right. Yes, you should consider your choices right now. Like that. Well, I could have been a neuroscientist, but I chose to be a redcoat at Butlins. I could make a long list of all the things I haven't done that I wished I had. That's not failure, that's regret. This is different things. These are things you haven't done. You haven't failed at it. You can't fail at something if you don't do it. I've yet to conquer my fear of driving. My best-selling book remains stubbornly unwritten. My best-selling book remains stubbornly unwritten. Oh, you're talking about something you haven't written yet. Well, I still don't know how to reset my boiler. But these aren't failures so much as plans not followed through. Yes, we know that. Thanks for pointing out the fucking obvious. What is wrong with you? What's going on? Real failure? I flunked my maths GCSE twice. That's not failure. That's not failure. Which at the time seemed like the end of the world. It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. It's not failure. For 2 years I failed to get pregnant, which brought heartache, frustration and moments of real despair. Oh my God, you don't understand failure, do you? I was like, but a round of IVF resulted in pregnancy and a baby, and so failure was turned into success. Go me. Time for my TED motivational talk. Except that an inability to conceive didn't, to my mind, make me a failure any more than having eggs fertilized outside my body made me a success. Yes, well, that's a very different thing to failing at becoming a famous singer like Lily Allen, or we're just using that as an example because you used her as an example. She's not my best example; it's your example. It's very different to not being able to conceive, isn't it? All right, that's a completely different thing, isn't it? That's the same as going, I wanted to be a Premiership footballer, but I have no legs. It's like, that's not really you failing at becoming a footballer. It's just, you just can't. There's a whole different thing. That's not failure. That's just called you can't. When they say there's no such thing as can't, sometimes there is such thing as, no, you can't do that. You can't. To reduce such moments of success or failure is unhelpful at a time when you are raw and vulnerable. If there is one thing that should be understood about real failure, is that it often due to circumstances beyond our control. Yeah, I don't think that's the kind of failure they're talking about. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when the wheels fucking come off. It's like, that's not failure. That's obstruction. That's shit. That comes under shit happens. It's how you deal with it that maketh the man. I'll give you an example. I don't know if I should just talk about it. Well, my directing tutor, a lovely bloke called Bob. Bob was, a very hot director in the 80s. He made Vampire's Kiss, starring Nicolas Cage. If you ever seen the YouTube video, Nicolas Cage loses his shit. It's one of the famous scenes where he's going, A, B, C, D. It's from that film. And he's going, I'm a vampire. It's Nicolas Cage being his ultimate Nicolas Cage self. Now, Bob was on the up and up. Bob was supposed to direct the remake of The Fly, which was produced by Mel Brooks. He didn't know that because he wouldn't put his name on it, because he thought it might come across as weird that Mel Brooks produces The Fly, because people would be expecting something different to what it was. So he was supposed to do it before Cronenberg was supposed to do it. But unfortunately, Bob's wife and daughter died in a car crash. And pretty much after that derailed his career. He has done work since then, but he didn't get to direct The Fly. He missed that opportunity. And I don't know why he didn't pursue anything after that, or what happened after that, but I mean, it devastated him. He's not a failure. That's not failure. That's called being derailed. It's a totally different thing. Failing is making a Charlie's Angels reboot. That's failure. That was fucking failure, right? That was someone failing, But if Elizabeth Banks comes back and directs some epic masterpiece, then she'll be a success. But she's not going to do that, because all she wants to do is she actively wants to make bullshit films. So I have no sympathy for her at all. You know what I'm saying? So that's not failure. That's something completely different. That's a different thing. You're misunderstanding the whole concept of this monetizing failure as saying, they're not telling people go fail, fail, fail. It's saying try, 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 and you will fail, 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 but keep fucking trying. Anyway, still, the growing industry around failure suggests that we derive pleasure from the stories of other people's screw-ups. No, it's not pleasure. It's called inspiration, you fucking dickhead. Is it that we enjoy watching people fail? Well, we enjoyed watching the Labour Party fail. Even those people that support the Labour Party enjoyed watching them fail. Now, why was that? That's the bit that you don't understand. Anyway, perhaps more likely there's a touch of there but for the grace of God in there too. We are all really a whisker away from what? Sorry. Whisker away from catastrophe. Perhaps that is why we like stories of losers coming out on top. Well, duh. The whole underdog story is popular for that reason, isn't it? You idiot. The US inventor and entrepreneur Thomas Edison was told he was stupid by his teachers, and is said to have made more than 1,000 attempts to invent the light bulb, but he got there in the end. Theoretical physicist Albert Einstein allegedly didn't speak until he was 4 years old and was a dead loss at school, but he did alright later too. He was a dyslexic brother, that's why. Such stories are seen as human and endearing and allow us to imagine that genius resides in us all, if only we could locate it. Cinema is fascinated with failure. Ed Wood, Inside Llewellyn Davis, Sideways, and Birdman. How's Sideways about failure? I can't remember. All provide portraits of lives thwarted or unfulfilled. The documentary Anvil, the story of Anvil, told a touching tale of a Canadian rock band that failed to capitalise on early promise and spent years being ignored. The film depicts a disastrous tour in which everything that can go wrong does go wrong. They are skint, and no one comes to their gigs, yet on the plod making albums on the cheap in the hope of one day the success will be theirs. Television also loves a loser, chief among them Reggie Perrin, David Brent, and Alan Partridge. No, Reggie Perrin rejected society. David Brent isn't... Now you talk about losers instead of failures. You know, he's like... This is different. Alan Partridge isn't really a loser or a failure because he did have a career. He did the career that he wanted to, but then it all slipped away from it. Anyway, Optimism and Hubris have sustained the Channel 4 series Grand Designs, but the recently broadcast saga of a record company executive and his dream of a lighthouse on the North Devon cliff edge made for particular fist-chewing viewing. 3 million quid in 8 years later, and the unfinished building stands as a monument to one man's massive failure of judgment. The locals remain livid, blah, blah, blah. Life is messy, and for most of us, major cock-ups don't pan out like a film script. Oh, really? I didn't know life was harsh and unfair. Grit and determination only get you so far in life, and not all obstacles are there to be bravely overcome. It's interesting that we hear less from the long-standing failures, the poets who never got published, the inventors who never got an idea off the ground, the mountaineers who gave up and went home. There might be a reason for that, is that they're crap. Did you ever take that into consideration? You know, harking back to the whole thing, why aren't there enough female directors making high-grossing films? Maybe they're just crap. Maybe. Do you ever think that people are just shit? Maybe you think the poet who never got published was rubbish? Do you think the inventor that never got an idea off the ground never had any good inventions? Maybe the mountaineers who gave up and went home. Yeah, that's right. They gave up and went home. You failed, not because you didn't, failure. You talk about overcoming failure. It'd be the mountaineer went up the mountain and got attacked by a bear or some shit, or fell down the fucking mountain and broke his leg or some shit. And then came back and did it again. But when you give up and go home, that's a different kind of failure. That's called giving up. That is the definition of a loser. Do you know what I'm saying? Or wasting your time. Bona fide failure can be life-altering and heartbreaking, but it can also be met with a shrug and a rethink of one's goals. Either way, to look at failure purely as a precursor to success means that it isn't truly being embraced. Those motivational speakers who talk loudly about failure may well have had their problems, but the triumph over adversity narrative is, by and large, a privilege belonging to those with a safety net, and having one of those surely makes you a winner. Right. And suddenly, just at the end, Fiona Sturgis is an arts writer specialising in books, music, podcasting and TV. Right. And just right at the end, this lady just decides to go, but triumph over adversity narrative is, by and large, a privilege belonging to those with a safety net. Where did that come from? When did she mention that? And how does that relate to her IVF? Didn't give any examples. She did not give one example or try and build an argument for the fact that, you know, triumph over adversity is a privilege that belongs to those with a safety net. She didn't put across any examples. She didn't even build towards an argument, didn't even create an argument. Nothing. Just at the end going, well, that's because basically privilege and a safety net, and that's the only reason why you can be a failure. So, yeah, you know, that's why you can afford to fail, by having a safety net. I mean, there is truth in, obviously, it being a lot easier. You know, that's why you get a lot of musicians, a lot of actors are very posh. You do notice that. Because they don't have to end up working in call centres, as most actors do. But some people fucking slum it. Listen to the stories about, you know, who's the guy that stars in Power? No one watches Power, do they? No sensible people. But, you know, and Idris Elba, you hear all these stories about people sleeping in cars, people really roughing it. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've slept on sofas and shit. You know, do you understand what I'm saying? As in, you don't necessarily have to have a safety net in order to succeed. It just means it's going to be harder for you. But therefore, the reward is going to be that much sweeter. Do you know what I'm saying? It's such a why would you come in at the end and just say that? And having one of those surely makes you a winner. Yeah, it's privilege. We've given no examples. And what kind of precedent does that set for people? Now, how does that help anybody? You know, why? There's a great line in, I don't know if you've ever seen Hustle and Flow. Hustle and Flow is a quirky film. Yeah, it's not the greatest movie ever made, let's face it. But it's fucking entertaining. But there's a great message in Hustle and Flow. Hustle and Flow, if you don't know, stars... Oh shit, what's his name? I don't want to say the geezer who stars in Empire, because that's not the best thing that he's ever done. No. The geezer that Don Cheadle replaced in Iron Man. Oh shit, why can't I remember his name? Anyway, it's his character. He's an aspiring rapper, but he's a pimp. And his bottom bitch is pregnant. I think with his no, not with his baby. Pregnant with a baby. Anyway, and he makes up this story that he used to work with this famous rapper from his hood. You know, sort of Skinny Black, portrayed by Ludacris, and they're making a song. They're trying to make his music career, and he tells this sort of white lie about the fact that he used to know Skinny Black, and you know, therefore he could give him his song, and Skinny Black could put him on, you know, get his foot into the door in the music industry. And in the end, he beats the shit out of Skinny Black and shoots one of his entourage and so forth. Ends up in prison, and then he gets confronted by what's his name? Anthony Jackson. Is it Anthony Anderson? Anthony Anderson. See, I can remember Anthony Anderson, but I can't remember the main guy. Fuck it, that's terrible. And Anthony Anderson says to him, saying, "Look, yo, did you really know Skinny Black back in the day?" And the guy says, "Nah, man, nah." He said, "Why'd you lie?" And he says, you know, and he talks about the baby that his bottom bitch is about to have. He said, "Do you think when that baby grows up and it says to me, 'Hey, can I be the president of America?' Knowing that she's a bastard child." I don't know if he says bastard child, but you know, a bastard child brought up by a pimp and a hoe. If you think 1 minute that I'm not going to say to that child, yes, you can. I don't care if it's a lie. But there's no way I'm... Basically, he says, yeah, I am going to tell her she can be the president of the United States of America. She can be whatever the fuck she wants to be. Because why would I put negativity inside her mind? It's brilliant. It's the best thing about it. It just says, why would I tell her, no, you can't? Why would I instill that in someone's brain saying, no, you can't? Because a hell of a lot of people have gone out and done stuff when they've been told, you can't do that. And they fucking went and done it. It's the worst thing to tell anybody, saying, well, you'll never succeed because of the colour of your skin. You'll never succeed because you're poor. You'll never succeed because of whatever. Like, there's certain things you may not be able to succeed at. But look, some of the biggest selling artists in the music industry can't sing. Some of the most highest grossing, biggest paid actors on planet Earth can't act. It's called fucking perseverance. You know? It's a great thing about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think Bill Burr talks about him. He says, this guy came to America, you know, could barely speak English, and just became the biggest movie star on planet Earth, and he can't even act. And he just said, yeah, he did it. Then he became governor of California. This guy just went and did it. It goes on and on, but this is the point. And the whole message behind this article, and people like this is player hating, saying, well, no, you're going to fail, blah, blah, blah. It's like saying, yeah, there are harsh lessons in life, and yeah, not everybody's going to make it, and not everybody's going to have a chance, but fuck me, you don't just go around and telling people you can't. You know, some people telling them they can't works very well because they go, oh, I'll fucking show you. But some people, it really destroys them. It destroys them. It holds people back. You know, being told, oh, this whole system's against you, you might as well not bother. So what are you going to do? What, you know? This mentality is what turns people to fucking crime and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's this kind of shit. This sort of mentality creates incels and shit. It does. You know, this woman's totally missed the point of a lot of things and just rambled on. She's a person that writes and we're supposed to listen to. You know? You're extremely privileged to be in the position you're in because you know what the fuck you're talking about half the time.